We need to decide that we will not go to war, whatever the reason that is conjured up by the politicians or the media. Because war in our time is always indiscriminate. A war against innocents, a war against children. And this week's opening quote comes from Howard Zinn. Welcome to Surviving the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Maxwell Igan. It's a pleasure to be with you once again, and I'll be your host for the next hour. You know, we really need to stop the wars on this planet, folks. And when you think about it, it's easy to do because the people who are fighting in the wars are people. It's just people, just like you, just like me. All the soldiers out there are the ones who are carrying out the will of the banksters and politicians who are creating all the wars. So we need to create a new format for war that only involves politicians, so that when politicians want to go to war, like if the Tory party from England wants to go to war, then the Tory party can go to war. And if the government in whatever country they're warmongering against wants to go to war back with them, then those politicians can go to war as well. And we'll have these two political parties. We can put them all in a room and we can give each member a hammer and they can have their war. The thing is, folks, that war happens because we participate, and I think at the next war that they declare, we should all just refuse to show up. And that may sound like it's an impossibility for people to do, but I don't think it is. I think you should just all refuse to fight. I mean, we are all born equipped with free will, after all. I mean, all of the fighting's being done under false pretenses anyway. You're not fighting to protect your country. You're just murdering people that you don't know, so why bother showing up? But I mean, ultimately, you shouldn't join the military in the first place. In fact, I think every soldier working for every military on the planet right now should quit. Right now, put down your weapons, quit your job, and go home. I mean, what are they going to do, folks? Put the entire United States military in jail for deserting? I doubt it. And besides, if the entire military grows a brain and quits at the same time, then who's going to lock you up? What, the commanding officers? I don't think they'd have the balls, actually. If their minions weren't there to support them, I don't think they'd know what to do with themselves. But we don't need soldiers and armies to fight wars, folks. We don't need all of this massive military-industrial complex to fight wars. Wars are created by banksters and politicians, so let's let them sort it out. I mean, if Barack Obama seriously wants to have a war against Syria, you should put him in some battle fatigues, give him a couple of grenades and send him on in. See how he likes it. Let's see what the Syrian people do to him. That would be a good way to do it, because Syria doesn't really want to have a war. So there's no good putting Barack Obama's political party against his Syrian political party, because Syria doesn't want war. We just send Barack Obama's political party into Syria. There's the army. There we are. There's Barack invading Syria. Go hard, buddy. See how you like it. That's the way wars should be fought. But, you know, wars should be illegal anyway. But we have so many wars happening on the planet at the moment that it's absolutely unbelievable. And we have our governments openly engaging in war crimes at this very moment as well. And I've said this on so many shows recently that all of our governments are engaged in war crimes, especially the United States government, the British government, the Canadian government, and the Australian government. The Canadian, United States, and Australian government are at the moment pressing to stop a Geneva conference on Palestinian rights. These governments are openly supporting the war crime that is Israel. This blatant little sociopath Tony Abbott, this little war criminal we've got running our country, is openly supporting the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. It's absolutely disgraceful, folks. So these are the type of morons and sociopaths we have running our countries, and these are the type of morons and sociopaths we have creating all these wars around the planet. And everything that's happening, folks, all of the wars, all of the corporate rape, You know, it's the governments and the companies that are doing these things. I mean, it's the companies that are doing it via legislation the government puts in, but ultimately it's the people that are working for these organisations that are doing this as well. I mean, all these soldiers that are out there fighting these banksters' wars under false pretenses and killing all these people they don't know, wake up to yourselves. What are you doing? Go home and get back into your life. Go home and experience some reality. Go home and experience the art of yourself. Make the world a much better place, rather than going out and killing people you don't know because some bankster sociopath told you to. All these people that are working for these mining companies that are destroying the water table, wake up to yourselves. What are you doing? Why on earth are you destroying groundwater to get paper and put money in the bank? What, so you can have a mortgage on your house and pretend that you own somewhere? You don't own anything. You don't own your house, especially if you live in Australia. Nobody owns their house in Australia. All you own in Australia is a mark on a map. Have a look at your deed. Have a look at your deed of title. It lists you as a tenant. You don't own anything. Nobody in Australia owns the house that they live in. All they own is a mark on a map. That's it. It's a scam. And you're destroying the country in order to claim ownership of a mark on a map. I'm sick of this rubbish. I really am. I'm sick of what these people are doing to us. And I'm frustrated by the response that we offer towards this situation. I mean, think about it, folks. These guys are killing us. They're killing the planet. They're killing everything. They're putting poison in the food, poison in the water. I mean, we're eating food, and you look at this stuff from the supermarket, and it's full of all of these chemicals and all of this rubbish that shouldn't be there. They're spraying chemicals in the sky. They're not asking our permission if they can do that. They're putting fluoride in the water, toxins in the vaccines. They're insisting that people inject these poisons into their children or they steal their children. They're polluting the earth with GM crops. They're polluting the earth with big industry. Big pharma has taken over our lives. And if we want to combat this situation, we petition them. We vote people in. We vote people out. We ask nicely. I mean, it's ridiculous, folks. These criminals who are running this place are killing us, and they're putting poison in the food and poison in the water. And we're asking them, would they please act responsibly? They're not going to act responsibly, folks. They're psychopaths. They're not going to do anything we want them to do because look what they've already done. I mean, they're not going to fix anything, folks. They're the ones who've created the problem, and we don't do anything about it except use their system to try to address the problems that they've created, which has not been put there to afford us any remedy. And we believe we're constrained by their rules because they call them law. Well, it's not law. Law is there to protect people. If law is there to hurt people, then it's not law, it's poison. And why do we put up with it? Why do we believe we have to operate according to these ridiculous and corrupt parameters? We all know the people running this planet are criminals. Why don't we just dismiss them? Why don't we all stand up and dismiss our governments because we know they're criminals, and all we have to do is look around us at the state of the world to see that this is true. Most especially when our governments are going so hard at the moment and they're demonstrating so amply to the world that they are committing war crimes. This conference in Geneva that I was mentioning before, I mean, the fact that there are governments that are pushing to block this conference from even happening. And this is a conference that's aimed at putting pressure on Israel to stop their occupation of Palestinian territories, to stop bulldozing Palestinian homes and to do something about Gaza Strip. And you've got Australia, Canada and the US going hard, like going for broke, trying to prevent the conference from even taking place. And this is absolutely disgusting, folks, to think that representatives of my country are actually right now going for broke, petitioning and pushing, trying to prevent any rights being given to the Palestinian people. And the situation in Gaza and Palestine at the moment is absolutely outrageous, folks. The amount of crimes that Israel is conducting in the West Bank, making it illegal to even wave a Palestinian flag, and just arresting people left, right and centre, shooting people. They're actually saying that they will reward settlers who shoot terrorists. And, of course, anybody who protests against the illegal settlement program or waves a Palestinian flag can be considered a terrorist. And in Gaza, I mean, Gaza is under severe flooding at the moment as well. After this brutal assault conducted against these people by Israel, and it was a war of aggression, a brutal assault by a powerful military nation against a virtually unarmed civilian population. That's what it was. It was not a war. It was ethnic cleansing. And after this brutal assault, 51 days of intensive bombardment of an imprisoned, impoverished civilian population, mainly of children, now they are subject to severe flooding, and still the rogue state of Israel is doing everything it can to prevent supplies from getting to these people, and this little terrorist supporter puppet, General Sisi in Egypt, is doing everything he can to prevent any supplies from getting in as well, or indeed anything that may be considered humanitarian or compassionate from taking place in the area in regard to his Arab brothers and sisters in Gaza who are trapped in the living hell that Israel has forced them into. General Sisi is truly a very, very nasty piece of work, folks, and is most definitely doing Israel's work for them. It's very easy to see who pays his checks. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous what's happening in Gaza, folks, so it's very important that people maintain focus on Gaza Strip and maintain focus on Palestine. Not to mention that there isn't other things that they need to pay attention to as well. I mean, look what's going on in Syria. This ridiculous assault on Syria by the terrorist forces of Barack Obama and the terrorist forces of the Western world, which is what they are. You know, like I said, all of the instability in the Arab world has been created by the West. The whole region has been destabilized by the West and by Israel for many, many years. So we can't blame anything that's going on in the Middle East on anybody except our own governments. You know, our governments tell us that they're fighting terrorism, but the bottom line is that war is terrorism, folks. 1,147 people have been murdered by Barack Obama in order to kill 41 possible terrorists. And in doing so, he's created 1,147 families who are without family members now, and a potential 1,147, if not double that, new terrorists to threaten the United States with. Because when your family member gets killed, you want revenge. I guarantee if Barack Obama aimed a drone strike at this country and killed my sister, he'd turn me into a terrorist because I want to go to the United States and rip his face off. The same as every one of these people in Pakistan who have now lost a family member due to this mass murdering terrorist scumbag's actions. And we allow this, folks. We allow this to happen because we believe we're constrained by all of the bullshit these people write on pieces of paper. It's about time we stood up and dismissed our governments because they are criminal scumbags. Exhibit A, the earth. You know, in all of this terrorism, what's going on here, folks, is that our governments are going into foreign countries and they are waging the worst types of terrorism against the people in these countries. War is terrorism. That's what it is. It's terrorism. I tell you, folks, when you're in a place like Gaza Strip and bombs are falling on you, you're pretty damn terrified. It's terrorism. Let's look at the bottom line. You elect government to manage your infrastructure for you. They are your employees, and that is their position, that is their mandate, that is their job description. That's the thing, folks. It doesn't matter what they say we can or cannot do. If these people are criminals and they're breaking the law and they're making life hard for us, then there's no reason why we should feel that we are constrained by their rules. We've got to remember, folks, that they work for us. And as long as we're acting non-violently and we have the moral high ground, then they have nowhere to go, regardless of what they may have written down on any piece of paper and what rubber stamp they've put on it. You know, there's no doubt that we are in the most difficult of times, folks, and there is no doubt that we are facing a myriad of problems. But ultimately, the solution to all of these problems is a spiritual one. It involves us actually stepping into our own abilities. That's all it really requires, folks. And as I said earlier, all we really need the people to do is to be honest with themselves and to stand up and to speak the truth. The more people who speak the truth and take the moral high ground in what they do, the quicker we will bring about change. And there's a lot of people who look around at the state of the world. I mean, even people who may not be into the alternate culture or the alternate media or have access to alternate information. Many of these people also see that there are real problems in the world, but still they keep their heads down. Still they don't make their voices heard, and they are politically correct in the manner in which they approach things. And we have to stop this. We have to be honest enough in ourselves and respectful enough of ourselves and of our environment to actually stand up and speak the truth and make our voices heard.